Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, Moonlit Books. My name is Kristen, and today I am going to talk about all of the series that I have started, most of which I've only read the first book in the series because that checks out. But I'm going to be talking about all of these series that I have started and have not finished, and honestly, I'm asking you, the people of booktube, of the internet, to help me figure out if these series are worth continuing to read. So before we jump into this video, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me, and I would really appreciate it if you would consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I upload new videos every Thursday, and yeah, just thanks for hanging out with me. Let's get on with the video. I have a pile of 7 books over here, so we're just gonna go right down through the pile and talk about these books. The first one that I have is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. And here's the thing. I don't really remember much about this book at all. I don't know why I stopped reading the series. I truly have absolutely no clue. I feel like I probably picked this book up because Jesse the Reader is like obsessed with this series and he talks about it on his channel all the time. I also think that I picked it up because the movie was coming out or had already come out. I don't think I ever watched the movie, so I have no idea. I do feel like I enjoyed this book when I read it. I wish that I remembered more about how I felt when I was reading it. See, the thing is that if I were to finish any of these series, I would for sure 100% have to go back and reread the first books because I don't remember a single thing that happened. My questionable synopsis for this series is that it is about this home for peculiar children. Like, all of these children that are living in Miss Peregrine's home have these like magical powers and abilities, and I don't know a single other thing that happens in this book or in this series. It just is about magical children. That's really all I've got. If you have read this series, if you feel passionately about this series, let me know. I don't know. It like sounds interesting and part of me wants to keep reading it. I don't feel like super strongly about this one way or another, so I don't know. Should I read it? Should I not? What's the tea? Someone tell me. Alright, up next we have another first in a series, also which I believe was turned into a movie at one point in time, and that is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. And this is another book about children with magical powers. So I remember really liking this book when I read it. And again, I think this is one that I read because there was a movie coming out. Again, a movie that I don't think I ever watched. Do we see a pattern here? It's fine. Honestly, my feelings and thoughts about The Darkest Minds and Miss Peregrine's are pretty much the same thing. I don't remember much about the book. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed it, and I picked it up because there was a movie coming out. And honestly, this one feels like one that I would like more than Miss Peregrine's, and I very recently read Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and I really like her writing style, and I don't remember much about this book just because it has been so long since I read it, but if the writing style in this book is even like slightly similar to the style that she uses in Lore, I feel like I'll definitely really enjoy it. And this one has like really big dystopian kind of like overthrowing the government energy, which I also think is really fun. I feel like a series like this would feel really nostalgic for me just because I feel like it could be really similar to like The Hunger Games and Divergent with that dystopian sort of feeling to it. This is one that I didn't expect to feel like I wanted to read it again while filming this video, but now that I've talked about it some more, this one is actually one that I actually might want to read and continue the series. I don't know. What is everyone's thoughts? Maybe I'll just watch the movie first and see if the concept is one that I like, and then we'll pick it back up and go from there. That could be a good way to do that. I'm tempted by this one. This one is tempting me. But again, let me know your thoughts on this one. If you've read it, I would love to know. Next book. This is another one. My god, these are all the same. And I didn't realize this until right now, but truly these first 3 books are all books that I have read the first book, I own the second book, and they all have a movie. All of which I don't think I ever watched the movie. So we love that for me, to be completely honest. Anyway, this third book is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This one, another one, I don't remember. I feel like I liked the book when I read it. I don't know why I didn't keep reading the series, but this one is like a sci-fi, like a real sci-fi where aliens have invaded Earth and they've started taking over people's bodies, and you don't know if they're an alien or not because they are presenting themselves as humans. And I am 98.5% sure that the 2 main characters in this book, one of them is a human girl and the other one is an alien who has taken over a boy's body, and they are falling in love, which is like really bold of them to do such a thing. But I don't think the girl knows that he's an alien. Maybe she finds out, I can't remember. It's been forever since I read this book. The thing is about this one is I probably stopped reading this one because sci-fi is not one of my more favorite genres. It has to be like a really specific sort of sci-fi, kind of more similar to The Darkest Minds, where it's like science fiction, more like superhero-y. I'm less interested in science fiction where it is solely based on like aliens or being in space. So that is like one of the reasons that I can think of why I wouldn't have wanted to continue with this series. I definitely think that this is one that I would like to give another try, solely because I'm trying to read more sci-fi and like kind of dive into that genre a little bit more. And I think that rereading one that I have already read before would be a good place to start because it's kind of like, it's a little bit familiar. You already kind of have your footing, so it might be easier to get through and like to understand and digest and all that good stuff. But at the same time, I'm a little bit hesitant because sci-fi is not my strong suit. Like I definitely think that I would rather read, honestly, I think any of the other books in this pile again before I read this one. This one's probably at the bottom of my list for ones that I actually want to like try to continue with. But if you have any strong opinions about The Fifth Wave, let me know. And if the movies are good for any of these first 3 that I've talked about, please tell me because I feel like I should watch them now that I've remembered that they all exist. So we love that. So the next series that I want to talk about is also classified as sci-fi, but it's also fairy tale retellings, and I have read the first 3 books in the series, and it is one that I like definitely want to finish at some point in time, but that is Cinder, the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer. So I have read the first 3 books in this series, which are Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress. The only book that I have left that is a part of the main series is Winter, which was on my TBR for the month of April, I think, but I never got around to it. It wasn't one of my top like priorities on that list. So I am very actively thinking about reading it, and I also own the 2 quote-unquote spin-offs from the series, which are Stars Above, which is just kind of a collection of short stories that take place in this universe, as well as Fairest, which follows the evil queen in this series. And I adore these books. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I never read Winter when I was reading these books for the first time. Like I truly, honestly could not give you an answer. These books are just, the concept is so good to me. They are sci-fi fairy tale retellings. Each one follows a different fairy tale. So for example, this first book, Cinder, is a cyborg retelling of Cinderella, and it slaps. It is so good. To be honest, the thing is that I feel like also with this one, I'm a little bit afraid that when I read it when I was in like high school, I really enjoyed it, and maybe I hyped it up too much in my head, and I'm afraid that if I go back and continue at the series now, it won't live up to my expectations, and I'm scared of that because I love them so much at this point. I'm sure that Winter is great. and I really do want to read it. Should I go back and read the first 3 first, or should I just like pick up Winter and hope that I remember enough to figure out what's going on? I don't know. These are the questions. This is the reason I have come to you, the internet, to help me, because I don't know what I'm doing or if I should reread these first. Honestly, even if you haven't read these books before, would you reread the first 3 before you read the 4th one? I really do think it's been like 5 years since I've read these books, so I don't know. I'm conflicted. Should I just dive in? Maybe. Alright, that's enough about Cinder in the Lunar Chronicles. These books slap. If you haven't read them, you should look them up. Let's move on to the next few books, and these ones are when we get into the more quote-unquote controversial ones, just because I feel like they are books that either everyone has read or everyone has a really strong opinion about. So we'll just start with these 2 because it's fine. So these 2 books are not in the same series, but they are by the same author, and those are Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas and A Court of Thorns and Roses, also by Sarah J Maas. And I read the first book in the Throne of Glass series, and I own the second one. I think I started the second one at one point in time and kind of gave up on it. I genuinely don't remember a single thing about this series, to be completely honest. I remember there's a lady and she has a sword and they're in a castle. That's it. That is all I remember about this series. I don't remember a single other thing. So that is all the time that I'm gonna give to this one, because I don't really have a strong opinion about this one either way, because I don't really remember anything about it. And honestly, this is one, like between this one and A Court of Thorns and Roses, I feel like this one is the one that I am more likely to just forget about and like never care about ever again. So I don't know. If you have a really strong argument as to why I should read Throne of Glass, let me know. With A Court of Thorns and Roses, I believe I read the first 2 books. I don't think I ever started the 3rd book, although I own all 3, which I think, if I'm correct on this, that like is the full trilogy. Like it's a trilogy with additional books afterwards, because I think we're up to like 5 or 6 in this series now. And I liked this book. I really did. And then it just got maybe like a little bit too niche for me. Like the whole fairy thing, like mate bonding thing is not quite my vibe. I had a really hard time with it. I am not sure how I feel about like the characters in this book or like the way that everything unravels. I definitely liked A Court of Thorns and Roses. I felt like the whole storyline with Freyra and Tamlin, and then like the coming in of Rysand towards the end as kind of like this alternate like love interest sort of thing. I enjoyed all of that, but then it got to a point where I wasn't sure what the plot was or what was happening, especially in the second book. I felt like it wasn't really developing or going anywhere. It was just like these characters like living their life in a way that wasn't super interesting. Like maybe I missed something and they do have like some more plotline or like interesting character arcs and I just like didn't see them for whatever reason. But I don't know. It's just wild to me that like the whole internet is like so crazy about this series and I just don't get it. So maybe if someone could explain to me why this series is as good as everyone says it is, I would appreciate that. I genuinely don't really understand the hype around it. Part of me wants to read it just so I can like know what people are talking about, but at the same time I'm not sure that I will enjoy it, so maybe I just won't. If anybody wants the first 3 books in this series, I own all of them. You can have them. Okay, so we have now reached the last book of this video, and it's the last book of a series, and it is just a book that I have never finished because I'm afraid and sad to finish it. And it is Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. This is the last book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and I love that series. I absolutely devoured that series, and then Blood of Olympus came out, and I was just so sad of the thought of leaving, like, the Percy Jackson world and all of these characters. I just didn't want it to end. So I never finished reading the book because I'm just gonna keep living in denial that it's over. And I mentioned the Percy Jackson series in my series I want to reread video, and if I do end up rereading Percy Jackson and also the Lost Heroes series, I think that I could probably finish this now, but I just never did. I opened it. I got to page 106. Leo's point of view is up next, and I just stopped. I said, no thank you. I'm sad for this to be over, so I'm not gonna finish it. Yeah, that is genuinely all I have to say about this one. Honestly, I'm mostly putting this one on the list to publicly shame myself for the fact that I haven't finished it because it's so absurd of me. Like, I really should have just finished it. And at this point, I feel like I know a lot of what happens at the end of this book anyway, because it came out such a long time ago and people just like have talked about it since then. I feel like I know a lot of what happens, and at this point I should probably just read it. But it still makes me a little bit sad to think about finishing it. So I'm just gonna let it hang out for a little bit longer, and hopefully when I reread Percy Jackson, I will finally read this book. That is my goal. I needed to call myself out about this one, so here it is. This is me calling myself out for not having read this book yet. Oops. Alrighty, pals, we have reached the end of this video. Here is my little stack. Oh my god, it's heavy. Here's my stack of all of these series that I have started and not finished. Books that I need to read still, and thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, I super appreciate you being here. It means so much to me. If you have any opinions on any of these books, be them negative or positive, I would love to hear your feedback so I can start making some decisions on which of these books I'm going to read, which of them I'm just going to give up on, if I'm going to try to finish these series. So please let me know. Any thoughts and opinions are good thoughts and opinions. And again, I appreciate you being here so much, and I will see you again with another video soon. Bye!